This conference will now be recorded.
We'll talk about the same point again, electronic bank reconciliation statement. In short, we call it as EBRS. Now, as we discussed earlier, in order to understand electronic BRS clearly, first point that we must practice is manual BRS. First point we must practice is manual BRS. If we practice manual BRS, if we understand what is the configuration for manual BRS and how we are performing the postings in the manual BRS, which means how you are able to take the bank statement and how you are understanding the bank statement first. And based on your understanding, how you are uploading the statement into SAP, which means what is your statement opening balance, what is your statement closing balance. The difference between opening balance and closing balance will result the transaction value. For this transaction value, we are going to provide the breakup in the bank statement, whether it is manual BRS or the electronic BRS. So you are going to have three figures. First one is your opening balance. Second one is your transaction balance. Third one is your closing balance. For example, I will say that my bank opening balance is 1000. I'm saying that my bank opening balance is 1000 and my bank closing balance is 1500 or 1400. Now, if I take the difference between my opening balance and closing balance, you need to look at your opening balance and then you need to compare the opening balance with the closing balance. Here my opening balance is 1000 and my closing balance is 1400, which means there is a increase in my bank balance, which is 400. My opening balance 1000 is now become 1400. So I would say my difference is 400. So I'll take closing balance minus opening balance 400. This 400 I'm calling it as transaction balance. This transaction, whatever you put, must represent this one. The detailed breakup of your difference between opening balance and closing balance must be represented with individual transaction. For this 400, there may be a single transaction, there may be multiple transactions of different values. But overall, when you do a sum, when you do a total of all the transactions together, it must result the exact difference between opening balance and closing balance. This is how system is going to validate your statement. What system will do, it will look at your opening balance, it will look at your closing balance. Remember, whenever you perform any bank reconciliation statement, you must input opening balance, closing balance as a mandate input into the system. Otherwise system cannot understand what is the opening balance, what is the closing balance. Once you provide opening and closing balance, the difference between the opening and closing, which is this figure, is automatically identified by the system, and whatever the transactions we are uploading in the bank statement, whatever the transactions we are updating or uploading in the bank statement, this transaction total value is verified with the difference between opening and closing balance. If it matches, your BRS will be processed. If it is not matching, it will throw an error stating that the values or amount is mismatching. So you must understand that when you're processing any bank statement, you're not left and right posting the entries. You must pay attention on what is your opening balance, what is your closing balance. Now, here when you're looking at the statement, first time when you process the statement, you can take opening balance of the current GL account balance from the second statement onwards. Let's say this is my statement number one. I will say this is statement number one. Next one, if I take statement number two, same point in the statement number two also. These points will keep on repeating for every statement. When I do the statement number two, I must ensure opening balance in statement number 2 must be the closing balance of statement number 1. I cannot miss or I cannot bypass these checkpoints. Statement number 2 must contain the opening balance of statement number 1. In my statement number 1, closing balance is 1400. I must take 1400 here. Next one, closing balance also I need to put. The closing balance, let's say I am saying 1350. If I say closing balance is 1350, now my bank balance is not increasing, my bank balance is decreasing. There is a short or there is a decrease of 50 in statement number 2 when I compared opening balance to closing balance. Now my transaction value should result a negative 50 here. My transaction value should result negative 50 here. Now these two numbers should always match. Now this is your bank balance. This is your entered balance. Same thing. The difference between your opening balance and closing balance is called as bank balance. And the sum of all your transactions, whatever you are inputting in the system, is called as entered balance. Entered balance. Okay, so this figure is auto calculated by the system. So I will say this bank balance is calculated by SAP closing balance minus opening balance. Same is the logic here. Now this entered balance is sum of all statement lines or sum of all statement transaction values. Same point. Okay, your transaction balance is nothing but sum of all the statement transaction value. You may be entering different statements like check received, check issued, transfer received, transfer paid, bank charges, bank income. For all these transactions, the total when you make it, that is called as your entered balance. This balance is always validated with your bank statement balance, which is nothing but the opening balance minus closing balance, or the difference between your opening and closing balance. These two numbers must agree. If these two numbers are not matching, it will not allow you to process the statement. It will throw an error. So remember, when you're processing any bank statement, when your first point is to understand the statement. If you are able to understand the bank statement, it is easy for us to process this statement in SAP. If we are finding any difficulties, any confusions in reading and understanding the statement, it will lead to unnecessary confusions, which will in turn result in getting confused or not understanding the concept of BRS. Now, in order to understand electronic BRS easily, it is recommended that you must practice manual BRS and you understand how entries are getting processed, and you have calculated one dummy statement like opening balance, certain transaction figures, you calculated closing balance, you uploaded this in SAP. Once you do this manual BRS practice, electronic BRS is nothing. You will not find any difference in electronic BRS if you practice manual BRS at least one time, one full statement. Now, in electronic BRS,
Hello,
statement,
Ajay sir. Yes, sir.
yes.
Show me the above statement, sir. Statement one, ma'am. So here 400 bank balance. It is entered balance, now, sir.
400.
Bank balance 400. You are mentioned bank balances, no?
No, bank balance, I mean to say this is calculated by system. System is going to calculate. This is always closing balance minus opening balance.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay,
Okay.
because when you process the statement, you are going to input the statement transactions, how many checks you received, or how many payments you issued, how many payments you made, what expenses you incurred from the bank, what income you received from the bank. In a month, from your bank statement, there may be 10 transactions, there may be 100 transactions. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Now, if I add my transaction value to the bank opening balance or my statement opening balance, I will get my closing balance. In the statement, opening balance and closing balance is a mandatory manual input. So I'll put manual input so that it will not create further confusions. This is also manual input. This is also manual input. This is also manual input. Okay, so this is the enter the balance. This is your bank balance. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Manual bank statement format. When you normally talk about manual bank statement format, we practically or we generally do not have any particular format which we call it as manual bank statement format. But what we did, we created one sample format or sample statement like this. This is what we called it as manual bank statement, or in short, this is what we prepared, we assumed as manual bank statement format. Now, this format is what we practiced during our MBRS configuration, during our MBRS testing. I think everybody has practiced these points, right? Disk is full. Document not saved. Okay, this statement is what we have practiced earlier when we were doing manual bank reconciliation statement. Any questions on this statement, understanding this statement? This is clear, right? Understanding of your manual bank statement, because there is no specific format for this. This statement is as simple as like you download your bank statement from your net banking. The way you download the net banking bank statement, either in the Excel format or in the PDF format, it is the same format. From this manual bank statement or from this normal download of your banking, users will prepare this statement in an Excel sheet. They will do the matching. Based on their matching, they will upload the file into the manual bank reconciliation to perform the BRS clearing. This is one way. The other way, which is most commonly used in any organization, is electronic bank reconciliation statement. When you talk about electronic bank reconciliation, first let me reduce this. Now, let us talk about electronic BRS statement. EBRS MT940 statement. In electronic BRS, we will be using a statement called MT940. What is this MT940? How this MT940 looks like? Let us verify. Okay, so I have sent you this format yesterday. Let me copy this information and I'll put this here. I'll put this information here. Now, this statement is what we call it as MT940 statement or MT940 format. I did not mention all the information. I have given only the information which you must remember, which you must understand in order to read any MT940 format. Point number one, if you are not able to understand MT940 format, point number two, if you are not able to identify and read the information from MT940 statement, it is very difficult for us to understand the concept of electronic BRS, configuration, and the processing of electronic BRS in SAP. This is the prerequisite, this is the mandatory information that we must understand. This is a sample statement, and this is the MT940 format of any one bank. I just downloaded from this Google and I shared it with you. Now you just need to read through these points. Every statement, as we said, this is MT940. In MT940, whatever the format that you have, bank will provide you the detailed explanation about each line, in short, each tag. For every tag, there is a detailed explanation provided by the bank. If you are implementing, let's say, electronic BRS for HDFC Bank, you will find the similar PDF file from HDFC Bank. Similarly, if you are doing it for Citibank will have it. If you are doing for any other bank from any world, from any part, that respective bank will provide you the PDF format as to how you need to understand, how you need to read the bank statement, because there may be certain information related to the bank specific. So all that information will be here. As a FICO consultant, first point that you need to do before you work on electronic BRS or MT940 is to get this file from the respective bank, understand this. If there are any specific points, make sure that you understand it. Accordingly, you will have to do your config. Okay, this is your statement file. You can go through this in your free time, because in your interview you will be questioned to explain the elements of your MT940 format. They might ask you, can you tell me how do you read bank statement, how SAP will understand this is this information. The way you understand, in the similar way SAP is understanding, because in SAP it is all programmed. Read this line as this, read this line as this. The way SAP is reading the MT940 bank statement, in the similar way you should also read it. Right? You don't see it in a different way, see it in the same way how SAP is seeing it, so that you will be in sync with system. You will understand what is happening. If there are any errors, if you are not able to perform any reconciliation, you will easily understand the reasons, solutions for it. If our understanding of a statement itself is not correct, whatever we do going forward on electronic BRS or MT940 will be incorrect. Now let me straight away come to this bank statement. Okay, so in this bank statement, first thing that you have, this I will call it as header. This is your statement header, and this is your statement footer. This is not mandatory. Whether you keep it in your statement, whether you remove it in your statement, does not make any difference. If you want, you can keep it in your statement. If you do not want, you can remove it from your statement. It is fine, because system is not going to read the first information, last information, which is header and footer. It is up to you to keep it or not to keep it. Point number two, you have statement number 20. Now, whatever you have this dot, I think it's better I'll take it down. Later on, I'll move it up. Okay, this is important point to remember. You will find something like this, the semicolon and then double hash and then another semicolon, which means this double hash I am representing as a numeric number. If I look at this, I have something called 20 here. I have something called 20. This 20 is what I am representing here. This is what I am representing here. These are nothing but a tag in a statement. This is nothing but a tag. First, you need to understand how many tags are there in your bank statement. What is the meaning of each tag? Okay, what is the meaning of each tag? You need to understand. You have tag 20, tag 25, 28C, 60F, 61, 86, and 62F. These tags we need to remember. No other option. You must remember this. Tomorrow, if somebody is asking you, you must explain this tag along with the description of it. Now, first, what I'll do, I'll copy this, and later on we will come to this. Tag 20. Next one, you will have tag 25. Next one, 28C. Next one, 60F will be there. Next one, tag 61 will be there. Next one, tag 86. And last one, tag 62F. Did I miss anything? 20, 25, 28C, 60F, 61, 86, 62F. Okay, these are the tags that you will have in your statement. Here I'll put tag and description of this tag. Tag 20 is your statement date. Tag 20 represents the statement date and tag 25 is your account number. This is your account number and 28C is your statement number. This is your statement number. 60F is your opening balance and 61 is your transaction details and 86 is your note to pay. Or you can also call it as additional information about transaction. We simply call it as note to payee. This note to payee, you can also call it as additional information about the transaction. 62F is your closing balance. This is your closing balance. First, these points we must remember. These points we must understand before we proceed further with understanding the bank statement. In statement date, you are going to have the statement date in such a way. If you look at this, this is YYYYMMDD. So let me copy this. Your statement date is always in this format. You need to remember these points blindly because this is how it is there. Otherwise, you may get into unnecessary confusions. You will read date as month, you will read month as date, or you will read year as date or month. You will get confused if you do not understand, if you do not remember the format in which it is specified. Your statement date is always mentioned, or your statement date is always specified in the year, month, date format. 4 digits for year, 2 digits for month, 2 digits for date. Next one, account number. Account number is your, this is your numeric. Example, this may be statement number 100, or it can be 100/1. Something like this can also be your statement. There's a numeric number, something like this. If you're having the same statement, or the same day, if you're generating the statement 2-3 times or 2-3 intervals, then it is going to have the statement number for that particular day and the intervals that you are generating. It may be first part, second part, third part, like this. This can also be a statement number. Your statement number can include a single digit, a numeric, which means 100 or any number. On the other side, the statement number can also include a slash by the sub number, maybe 1 2 3 4. This can also be your statement number. So remember, your statement number, not this, this is here in the statement number. This is your statement number. From where I copied this? Okay, I copied here. Now the second one is your account number. Account number is numeric from FI12 or T012K table. Whatever you maintain the house bank in your FI12, in the house bank you are going to create an account ID. Inside the account ID, we are going to provide the account number. This account number is what you have to represent in your account number in tag 25. The same account number you will be able to see it in T012K table from SAP. Opening balance. This opening balance again is a logic based. Just let me copy this. Enter. If I take this, it has got C. Okay, now if I put this here, C represents credit. This is year. If your opening balance or if your statement date is today, for example, scenario is statement date is equal to 25 July 2023. Let's assume that this is our statement date. Now, according to this, statement date will be like this. Let me split this also into different things so that it will not be any confusion. You need to split this and then read year, month, and then date. Now, if I put this year, I will be replacing with 2023. Month is July. July is 07. Next one date. Date is 25. This is how it will be represented. 2023. Okay, month will be 07, date will be 25. Why this is going? This is 25, this is 07, this is this. Okay, 2023 07, I'll put this, 25, I'll put this. Clear? You need to represent each color to understand that this is how the statement is split. Next one, account number. Your account number is numeric. When I say numeric, this is okay. This is from your FI12 or T012K table. So what I'll do, I'll put this information here. Account number, I may say that some number like this, which is coming from your bank statement, and this account number is represented with your house bank and account ID. Whatever you configure in house bank and account ID in FI12, if you go inside the house bank, you will find the account ID. If you open account ID, there you must have given account number. This account number should exactly match with your statement account number. This account number you can also find from T012K table. I'll put everything in same color. Now statement number. Statement number is again a numeric. This number can be a pure numeric number or numeric slash sub number. Maybe statement number 1, 2, 3. Likewise, it may be there. Here also I'll put 100/1, something like this. I'll put 100 slash some sub number like this. Next one, opening balance. In opening balance, it is a little tricky part that you need to understand. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 categorizations in your opening balance. First one is your C. C represents credit. If your bank has got positive balance, then it is represented with a C. Your bank account has got a credit balance. If your bank account has got a negative balance, it is represented with D, which represents your bank has got a debit balance. Read C as credit, D as debit in your bank statement. C represents credit, D represents debit. Here it is this one. Next one, opening balance. This is YY. YY is nothing but year 2023. MM is nothing but month 07. DD is nothing but date 25. Clear? C represents credit. This is your date 23/07/25, followed by INR. INR is nothing but the currency code. These currency codes are ISO predefined currency codes. Bank will not provide any code of its own. These are all the standard currency codes, which is ISO predefined. And followed by the statement opening balance. Whatever is your opening balance that you need to take. And here you need to pay attention on decimal separator. Here you need to pay attention on decimal separator, whether your decimal separator is dot or comma. Sometimes you may find a dot, sometimes you may find a comma. Accordingly, you need to put this. Here it is comma, you need to make sure if it is 100, you need to put 100, comma 00. If it is 100.50, you need to put 100, comma 50. Because accordingly you need to go, you should not get confused at this dot comma also. You need to look at the statement which is provided the bank, how your bank is segregating the decimals. In the similar way, you need to segregate when you're practicing. Yes, assuming that your bank balance is 1000. So I'm going to put 1000, comma 00 or 1000.50. Okay, so you are going to have the same amount here. Clear? This is how you're representing your bank statement. Next one, 61 is transaction details. If I look at this transaction details, it has got information like this. It has got again a different breakup or classification, something like this. Tag 16 we are breaking down into like this. Here also let me put different colors. This is one set. This is another 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 set. Okay, so you need to split the statement tag number 61 into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categorizations. First one is the transaction date. First one is your transaction date. For the transaction date, what we need to do is date in which the transaction took place. In short, this is called as your the date in which this transaction is presented in the bank. If I put the first one YYMMDD, let me copy this. I'll replace this with some of the information. Here I'll put this is 2-digit year. Our example is the statement date is today 25 July 2023. According to this, year will be 23, month will be July 07, date is current, which is 25. Next one, MMDD, this is another date. This is called as your value date. This is called as your value date. I will say this is value dated maybe 30th June. I'll say 3007, or I'll say 2907. 2907. So first one is your transaction date, which is your YYMMDD format. Next one is your value date. So in other words, when you're posting this a transaction, the 6-digit one, first date is your posting date, second date is your document date. When you're posting any transaction, we are going to have two dates. One is posting date, the other one is document date. First one is your posting date, second one is your document date. Date in red is your posting, date in blue is your document. Next one, C. As I said, C represents credit, D represents debit. Now, when you're talking about a particular transaction, your transaction may be a debit transaction or a credit transaction. If it is a check issue, check issue is going to deduct balance, so it will be represented as a D. If it is a check issue, it is a D. If it is check receipt, it will be a C. Okay. If your transaction is a credited transaction, C. If your transaction is a debited transaction, D. In short, if your bank statement transaction is increasing the value, it will be a credit. If your bank transaction is decreasing the value, it will be a debit. Now, before that, let me write this point somewhere here. C is equal to credit in statement. D is equal to debit in statement. Okay, these 2 points are important. C is credit in statement, D is debit in statement. Next one, amount. Let's say after 1000 we took opening balance as how much? We took 1000.50 as opening balance. I will take this credit as 200. So 200 comma 00. Next one, you have something called NCHK. This NCHK is nothing but a transaction type. Yesterday we talked about external transaction types or external transaction codes. These things are called as transaction type or transaction code from the bank. So these are bank transaction codes or bank transaction types based on which we are going to identify the nature of transaction. Yesterday we have listed some certain points, something like this: external transaction type, NCHK, NTRF, NCHG, NMSE. These points are represented in your tag 61. This tag 61 talks about what kind of a transaction it is. If you see here, you are able to find NCHK. Assuming that NCHK is represented by check followed by NCHK or transaction type, the detailed information will be given. If it is NCHK related to check, check number will be followed by NCHK. If it is related to transfer, then it may be NTRF followed by the transaction reference number. If it is related to any particular transaction but there is no reference for it, then you will find no reference there. After NCHK, if you find no reference, which means there is no transaction reference number updated for this particular entry. Now, but majoritarily for your checks, for your transfer, for check number will be updated in the statement. For transfer, transaction reference number or unique transaction reference number, either TR number, transaction reference number, or UTR number will be mentioned next to the transaction type, next to NCHK or NMSE. After this, you have two columns, two slash. This is another reference number relating to the payment. There is any other information, any other reference provided by, or if you are providing or you're receiving additional information related to the payment, that will be segregated based on the payment reference, two slash followed by the payment reference. Now, when you're performing the clearing, if you remember your manual bank reconciliation statement, in the manual bank reconciliation statement, we were using a column called bank reference. In manual bank reconciliation, we were using a column called bank reference. In bank reference, whatever you're typing, that is represented as algorithm to find open item. Whatever you are updating in the bank reference column is nothing but whatever value you see next to your transaction type, either NMSC, NCHK, NTRF, whatever it is, next to is whatever the number code that you find, that is your bank reference. In short, the transaction reference, which is used for identifying the open item from the bank sub GL account. So this I'll take as it is. One is your transaction reference, the other one is additional reference or payment reference, anything applicable or anything is provided in this. But here we are going to clear the transaction based on a code which is next to NCHK. Whatever is there next to NCHK, based on that we are going to do the clearing for your EBRS. And next tag is your 86, which is note to pay. Now you must have heard something called MT940. In MT940 there are 2 points. You have structured, you have unstructured. Your MT940 format can be structured, your MT940 format can be unstructured. Then how you will decide whether it is structured or whether it is unstructured? It is based on tag 86. Tag 86 will tell you whether your statement is structured or unstructured. Now if I open this statement, whatever I opened here, where is tag? This is tag 61. This is your tag 86. This is your tag 86. If you look at this, in this you have an example. In this example, there are a lot of slashes that you are able to find. Here you find R reference slash, you have E reference slash, you have ORDP slash, name slash, RMCT slash, CHRG slash. Like this, you have different classifications or data segregations. If you find these kind of data segregations, in short, these are all your transaction types. These are all your transaction types. If your note to payee is segregated based on the transaction type, this is called MT940 structured format. If your tag number 86 is not segregated by these transaction types, then it is called as unstructured format. Majoritarily, we will be using unstructured formats, not the structured one. Unstructured will be majoritarily used, because if you use structured one, you will not be able to use the more length or more detailed description in the note to payee, because note to payee is character limitation. You've got certain characters which you cannot exceed. If you are using all these predefined categories or codes like RMCT and all, you are unnecessarily wasting the space in your length. So your statement is going to be called as structured or unstructured based on the tag 86. If somebody is asking you how do you decide whether your statement is structured or unstructured, your answer will be it is based on the tag 86. If your tag 86 contains the transaction code, it is structured. If your tag 86 does not contain the transaction code, it is unstructured. Majoritarily, we will be using unstructured note to payee. Here, let's say I will write something like, I'll say NEFT followed by some number, maybe ABC Private Limited, and some number, anything I can mention here. This is just the additional information related to this transaction, because I am debiting my account to send money to one of my vendor. To the vendor, if I wanted to inform any other information, let's say when I'm transferring money to my vendor account, my vendor would like to know who gave this money. Let's say I will input that my company name ABC Private Limited, or I can also mention my vendor code. I can also mention my invoice number against which this payment is remitted. Those kind of information you can put in note to pay. Note to payee will give additional information related to the transaction that you have executed or that you have performed. This information, whatever you provided to the bank will make sure that additional information will be added in tag 86 as note to payee. In short, when you look at any bank statement of yours, even your personal bank statement, let's say I have sent some amount to you, or I have done even a Google Pay, Phone Pay to your account. The way you look at your Phone Pay statement is different. The way you look at your bank statement is different. When you look at your bank statement, it will give you clear information about the transaction reference number, which you will find on the Phone Pay. The same reference you will find it on your bank statement also. Apart from that, you will get to know from whom you got it. That mobile number, name, it will come. If it is sent by Ajay, you will get Phone Pay or IMPS pay from Ajay. This reference code, date, all this information will be updated in one or two lines. The same information will be coming into your MT940, but it is classified as a tag 61, tag 86. There is nothing new in this. If you are still getting confused, if you wanted to understand this better, first thing what I request you to is download your personal bank statement, look at it 3-4 transactions. First check if you are able to understand your bank statement before coming and checking the company's bank statement in MT940 format. First we need to make sure we are able to understand our personal bank statement. If we are able to understand our personal bank statement, there is nothing new in this. It is the same thing. Okay. Now this is the additional information related to the transaction. And finally, you are going to have closing balance. Here I'm not writing any color because this is not any specific classification. This is just the note to payee additional information. Can be any information, can be blank also, can be nothing also. It can simply put same check number also in the additional information. Last one is your closing balance. Closing balance has again got a logic. Copy this, and this is your closing balance. Here again I will take a different color for this. Date is again another color. This is your currency, a different color, and this is your amount. Based on this, if I look at it, I think it's better I put everything here. Same point, C represents credit. Your closing balance is credit. Why closing balance is credit? Your opening balance, we assume that it is 1000.50, and there is a credit transaction. Credit according to bank is increase, debit according to bank is decrease. Now you've got one transaction for 200 credit. Credit means it's an increasing balance. 1000.50 credit plus 200 credit, it will become 1200.50 credit balance. So here this C represents you've got a credit balance. This is the date again, statement closing balance. Your statement date is 25, your statement closing balance should also contain 25. I'll put year 23, month 07, date 25. Next one, INR currency, amount is 1200.50. This will be your statement closing balance. Okay, this is the statement information. Let me put a different color. And this is how you read or you represent your statement. This is your format. This is your sample. This is the format. Clear? Any questions on this? First, you need to go through this. Once you are able to understand this, you don't find MT940, you don't find EBRS difficulty at all. But make sure whatever is appearing on your screen now, you have to understand this. If you are unable to understand, if you are unable to read MT940, and we are trying to practice MT940, we are trying to make perfect ourselves in EBRS, not possible. Because if your basic fundamental is not clear, going forward whatever we do on EBRS will not be clear, will in fact lead to unnecessary confusions which we do not want.
Sir, tag 61, what is the two dates, sir? 23/7/25 and 29/7.
Let's say I am issuing a check Okay, I have given check today in the bank, but the check date may be future date 2907. These can be two same dates, these can be two different date also. That is why I put another date for 2907. You may be having future dated transactions executed today, correct? Huh?
Yeah, okay.
If it is current dated transaction, that will also be the same. This is where you are talking about, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
If it is the current dated transaction, here also it will be 2507. I did not take 2507 because you have possibility of future dated transaction also. Okay.
Okay, sir. Clear.
In short, that is your value date. Clear, right? Any other questions on this? As I said, first try to download your net banking bank statement. See if you are able to read one or two transactions. And if you are able to understand it, there is nothing new in this. It is the same thing. Even you can get your personal bank statement also in MT 940. Okay, make sure you download your personal bank statement. See, you are able to understand the bank statement, what information is present in that statement, especially related to the transaction. Let's say some 100 rupees got debited from your bank account. In short, 1000 rupees is deducted from your bank account. About this 100 rupees or 1000 rupees, whatever is deducted from your bank account, if you open your bank statement, do you find why this amount is deducted or not? Your statement will give you some information, right? If it is ATM withdrawal, it will tell you from which ATM, it will give you ATM ID or the location, time at which it was deducted. Certain information will be provided. Similarly, for every transaction, there is some information called note to payee or additional information. Same thing, you are going to have it in your tag 61, tag 86. Okay, tag 61, tag 86 will form a bank transaction. So each tag 61 and 86 is equal to one bank transaction. So tag 61 plus tag 86, these two together is called as a single transaction. If you're talking about 10 bank transactions, 10 multiplied by 2, 20 lines will be there for each transaction, which means if you're talking about a single transaction, it will have tag 61 plus tag 86. If you're talking about 10 transactions, is equal to 10 multiplied by 2. 2 is because 61 and 86. It will be 20 lines will be there. Clear? Any question on this? You just need to go through this, you will understand. If you have any questions, make a note of your questions, doubts, confusions. I will clarify in the next session. And tomorrow we will take one sample bank statement and we will start configuring and testing this. Okay, but make sure you go through this, understand how you need to read the bank statement, how you need to understand this, so that going forward you will not find any difficulty. Config and all is very simple, straightforward. Since you all already practiced manual bank reconciliation, 90% it is exactly the same. If you understand this, you got to know what is EBRS. Fine. All right, then let me stop the recording.